Tell me, how do you think this free-to-play game from 2013 manages to stay afloat all of these years, while its AAA competitors are drowning? They didn't need loot boxes, they didn't go pay to win, and they never got desperate for your dollar. How did Digital Extremes cultivate such a loyal community and create the anomaly that is Warframe? Whether you're a longtime fan or never touched Warframe, in this video I'm going to be breaking down the 1, 2, 3 key points that I believe make this game the gem that it is, and how they've overcome their mountain-like hurdles over the years. Before launching their own IP, Digital Extremes' roots lied within the co-development of games such as Unreal Tournament and the multiplayer portion of BioShock 2. While these games have a pretty major cult following themselves, DE's real interest lied in the opportunity of creating their own IP. They wanted a game that mirrored cyberpunk/anime aesthetics similar to properties like Ghost in the Shell and Neon Genesis Evangelion. Their first attempt to realize this project was 2008's Dark Sector. If you've heard of this game, you're probably thinking, well, that doesn't seem much like what you just described at all. And well, you'd be absolutely correct. You see, when Digital Extremes showed this project to their publishers, they were pushed to make the project more mainstream, which resulted in a more generic modern military shooter, which was of zero interest to DE whatsoever. In the end, the initial concept was laid to rest. However, it was not forgotten. Fast forward to 2012, the company was struggling financially. With Dark Sector down the shitter, a few developers from DE decided as a last-ditch effort to flip some of the assets from that title and make an entirely different game from its ashes. A game that incorporated ideas from their initial vision. It would be a fast-paced, third-person, co-op centered looter shooter with the sales pitch being ninjas with guns. When bringing this project to publishers, they were slapped across the face with rejection after rejection, with common criticisms being, "Free-to-play doesn't work on consoles. You need a known IP to survive in live service. You'll never make money with that monetization model." So they did something kind of batshit crazy at the time. They self-published themselves. With their company already struggling financially, their team of 10 to 20 people took the major risk of self-funding the project. These people believed that what they had visioned was within reach. And in 2013, they launched their game into early access solely to take away the harsh expectations of a polished AAA game and instead release the project with the intention and headline of building on player feedback. Digital Extremes did something special. They put the future of this project in the hands of its fans. They hosted dev streams, added fan-made content via their Tenogen program, and spoke to the community via forum posts, constantly taking feedback and implementing it into their game. This one component of their much larger machine is what made the game what it was and what it is today. Now sure, there's a few games out there that survive through community support, but most of the time that's via mods or third-party programs, almost never with direct support of the developers. After speaking with industry insiders after their success, Warframe was put on a pedestal and everybody wanted a piece of the pie, with many companies attempting to replicate what they thought created their platform, but nobody truly understood what made them so successful in the first place. In an interview with ex-game director and now CEO Steve Sinclair, back in 2018, he says as follows: "You can't take from a game without seeing the context of that game. You need to pull something from that game. Any design that you lift from something else is wrapped all up in that context. It needs to be interpreted through your game." Early on in Warframe, players asked, "Why don't you just sell skins like League of Legends?" I'm like, gee, why don't we just do what that $1 billion a year company does for our game that doesn't make any money? You can't transplant those things. Word of warning to those who want to copy Warframe. You gotta kind of make it your own. Some of the times in some of the conversations I've had lately, they say, well, it's like Warframe, but this. And then you listen to everything they're saying, like, it doesn't really sound like you maybe get that respect to the audience. Digital Extremes ensures they work in the best interest of its players, including every single one as part of a much larger team. This is a company that cares. As I previously stated, the community built this game brick by brick. But how can a game with a player base this large have all its ideas implemented into one polished creation rather than becoming a jumbled up Frankenstein? Looking at the updates throughout the years, there's some pretty wild additions to the game that are sometimes just downright insane. From adding a side-scrolling fighter inside of the existing game, introducing the ability to play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, giving the player their own FL Studio to create music for one character's abilities, and even adding additional jiggle physics to one of the Warframes simply because the community found it funny. They simply managed to mold all of these unique ideas to fit their game so seamlessly and never stray away from what it's meant to be. fun. The fighter frame mode is potentially a solution to their currently flawed multiplayer experience. The Conclave. The K-Drive is one of many methods of traversal in their vast open worlds, providing the player with more ways to get around in style. Octavia's music is part of her build crafting, with the melody, bass, and percussion affecting her ability's effectiveness and behavior. And Wisp's jiggle physics? Well, I don't have a point for that one. My point is, they make it work. Player expression in this game makes up what I believe to be more than half of what makes the experience so enjoyable. The build crafting is next level, giving every single player a reason to ask one another what they're running in any given activity, with different elements and their combinations respectively having different effects on enemies and each one having its own purpose. Heat strips 50% of armor, cold slows enemies, electricity stuns, and poison deals damage over time and bypasses shields. Pretty simple and easy to learn, but these can be combined in multiple ways to have more advanced utility and effects. For example, cold plus toxin gives you viral, which cuts the enemy's health in half. Or maybe radiation is more your style. With heat and electricity, you can cause the enemies to turn on their allies. And for my arsonist out there, blast is the result of heat and cold, with the outcome being a big ol' kablooey. Currently there's 6 different combinations in addition to the original 4, making 10 different elemental combos to play around with and test what's most effective for the activity you plan to dive into. In addition to this, they have Riven mods, unique and rare add-ons to your arsenal that can supercharge your builds and take them to the next level by giving you random stat bonuses that can be re-rolled via the Kuva in-game currency. Incarnate weapons introduced an entirely new gameplay loop to acquire. Remember how I said they just throw random shit into the game? Yeah, you get these things from playing their version of a fucking roguelike. That makes Warframe a looter shooting, side-scrolling fighter, skateboarding, space pirate roguelike fishing sim. You know, nothing too crazy. Anyway, once you acquire the blueprint from replaying this endurance loop and build one of these weapons, it turns this little pea shooter into something straight out of fucking Doom, shredding absolutely everything in your path. All of these different build tools are just the surface. Everything I just stated thus far is exclusively for your pew-pews. Your Warframes are an entirely different story. The Warframe mod system can be as simple or advanced as you'd like, with standard plus health, more damage, energy efficiency, and things of the sort, to more advanced builds that result in ability synergy and objective-based builds meant for specific tasks. And once you really dip your toes in, you can dive into arcanes, which are similar to mods for your character but provide their own unique effects, and archon shards, which are obtained via archon hunts and are typically used for endgame builds. This is definitely on the more advanced side, so I won't dive too deep, but just know the iceberg goes deep, but only as deep as you want it to. And with a community always eager to teach new players, it's never a challenge to dive into these systems. There are vendors throughout the system that offer different mods and equipment to add to your ever-evolving loadout, with Digital Extremes constantly giving you new replayable activities with actually incentivizing rewards. Now, we can't just forget the most vital element of this game, the fashion frame, baby. DE has implemented a ridiculous amount of customization and expressiveness in their cosmetic system, with color palettes, armor add-ons, sigils, and even entirely different skins. I mean, look at this guy. He got that shit on, baby. And for those who like to show off their drip, they've added a sharing feature so people can see what you've been cooking up. Now yes, 90% of the cosmetics are obtained via the premium currency platinum. So typical of a live service game. Of course they're gonna milk me dry just so I can put Rick Owens on my Space Ninja. Psych. Warframe's community all relies on a trading system, which you can trade items you've acquired in-game like mods and prime Warframes, which are essentially enhanced versions of their counterparts, for other players' items, or get this, platinum. The premium currency in this game can be acquired for 100% free. Over the years, I've stacked thousands of platinum just by grinding out the game itself, allowing me to look fly as fuck and to add to my bobblehead collection. This community has always been so welcoming, to the point I see many players always offering to trade new players for essential starter kits, or even to hop into a call and explain the ins and outs of this intricate game and how it works. You will never find a community quite like this anywhere else. From the builds they share to the crazy customization, the player base is encouraged to individualize themselves and make their way of play their own. The final, and in my opinion, most important piece of the puzzle is the way this team operates. This aspect is so vital, it bled into the other 2 points I've made. The Warframe devs don't just pump out a product, they play the game themselves. They understand what makes their game fun and what needs to be changed. They collaborate not just amongst themselves, but with you, the player. Rebecca Ford began as an intern at DE and worked her way up to community manager, and from her influence on the project and the community as a whole, she now stands as the game's director. From intern to head of the game is honestly a crazy feat. Now, when she was asked how they keep the game fresh during an interview at E3 2019, she said, "I think it's just believing in the choices that we want to make. Do we want to tell a story one year? Do we want to give action one year? Do we want to make an insane boss fight?" The players really do direct a lot of what we're doing, to be honest. You know, if they're like, there's no endgame content, there's kind of a behind the scenes focus to talk about and figure that out. They kind of, you know, correct our course a little bit based on that type of thing. This is amazing. It makes this game truly made for the players. The devs still introduce unique and interesting ideas, but if people are asking for something, they always deliver. From reworks to complete overhauls, this isn't just a product with a few bug fixes. It's a constantly expanding universe that they allow you to grow alongside. Every time I've taken a break from this game and came back, it's felt like they've released a sequel with the sheer amount of content that's been added every single update. Digital Extremes loves to celebrate their community and are so proud of the work that they produce, to the point of hosting an entire convention dedicated to this singular game. This convention is named TennoCon. Now that is fucking impressive. And even if you can't attend in person, they host an entire live stream event every year consisting of major game reveals, free giveaways just for watching, and so much community engagement. DE also has their primetime and dev streams where they show the community what they're up to, what's coming soon, and answer any questions and take feedback on the spot. Yes, you can literally pull up to their stream and talk to the developers about what you believe the game needs or what you'd like to see implemented or changed. That has never been a possibility with any other game ever, at least not to this degree. These motherfuckers take notes during streams. Oh, there's an issue with that? I'll take a look at it tonight. Like, how the hell do they do it? A bug in this game never lasts more than a week, and this is due to them publishing themselves so that they're not restricted on when and how they release their patches. If you ask the devs for a shitting update with advanced wiping mechanics, and you ask them nicely, they'd question your sanity, but god damn it, they'd make it work. Implementing it into their gameplay loop, giving the player advanced stats based on constipation levels or some shit. I believe their secret sauce to their success is for making this game personal and not just a product meant to milk money out of your pocket. I can honestly say, after being part of this community since 2017, this is a team that cares more about the game and the community than the few extra dollars it could put in their pocket. In the end, Warframe was a game made in spite of the industry that surrounded them. It's in no way a perfect game, but it's an unlikely success that resulted from a team that put their blood, sweat, and tears into a vision they wanted realized. It's outlived the games around it because its community has an undying respect for what Digital Extremes has been able to create and grow over more than a decade, giving them a story to tell. From the underdogs to leaders in their space, and companies failing to figure out how to be the next Warframe, they've built something impossible for a soulless corporation to replicate, because Warframe was made by you and I.